Breaking news tonight. Welcome to Hannity. All right, tonight, that caravan continuing to march north. It is picking up steam. It is growing in numbers. It is getting exploited by dangerous individuals trying to sneak across our southern border. The security concern is dire. Sarah Carter has been tracking this caravan from the ground. She'll join us in moments with a live report, and she believes, in fact, that MS-13 is among the crowd. We have other news on that front. And coming up, we'll break down the serious risk in play here and just who's organizing this caravan. We'll also reveal tonight how Democrats, they're completely ignoring this looming situation. In other words, they're taking John Podesta's Center for American Progress advice. In other words, a crisis they created. They want open borders, sanctuary cities, sanctuary states, and guess what? Amnesty. If we had a border wall tonight, this would not be a threat to the United States or even to the people that could possibly get hurt here, which nobody wants. We're just 14 days tonight. In 2 weeks, you're going to tune into this channel and a very important midterm election. The Democratic playbook is in full effect. We're going to expose the very worst, most despicable, vile ads that are out there, filled with the politics of hate and fear, which I predicted. Meanwhile, Nancy Pelosi, once again, she's measuring the drapes. She thinks she's getting the gavel back, but you have the power. We'll tell you her bold new prediction. And we have brand new undercover footage. Once again, Project Veritas. First they outed Bredesen in Tennessee, then McCaskill tonight. Wait till you see North Dakota Senator Heidi Heitkamp for who she really is, a far-left Democrat like everybody else in the Democratic Party, masquerading as somebody they are not. Moderates. We also have new damning reports on the Democrats running to be the next governor of Florida, Andrew Gillum. Wait till you see this guy's record, facing also an FBI investigation into serious corruption allegations. All right, buckle up. Stay tuned. A lot to cover in tonight's jam-packed opening monologue. At this hour, thousands upon thousands of illegal immigrants are now marching through Mexico toward our southern border to demand entry into this country. So just how massive is this organization that has been organized? Who's organizing it? Who's providing the funding? And are there ulterior political motives at play here? Well, today, the Vice President, Mike Pence, answered some of those important questions. Let's take a look.
At the President's direction, I spoke to President Hernandez of Honduras. He told me that the caravan that's now making its way through Mexico, headed for the southern border, was organized by leftist organizations and financed by Venezuela.
One of the shadowy left-wing organizations now involved, their name is Pueblo Sin Fronteras, explains that its dream is to, quote, watch this, turn down border walls imposed by greed. Now, think about what that means. This group is calling you, we, the American people, greedy for wanting a border wall or believing in our constitutional republic, our sovereignty, the rule of law in this country, for wanting to control immigration, for wanting to know exactly who wants to come into our country and what reason they want to be here. Fair questions. And, of course, the caravan poses massive security risks, frankly, for both the people marching and for the American people. Now, reports indicate that previously deported illegal immigrants, they are using this caravan to sneak back into the U.S. after being deported. Homeland Security Secretary Kirstjen Nielsen, she recently warned that cartels are trying to infiltrate this caravan. And today, both the president and the vice president issued this serious warning. Let's take a look.
The United States of America intervenes and prevents 10 terrorists or suspected terrorists from coming into our country every day. So it is inconceivable that there would not be individuals from the Middle East as a part of this growing caravan.
I spoke with Border Patrol this morning, and I spoke to them last evening, and I spoke to them the day before. I speak to them all the time. And they say, and you know this as well as anybody, over the course of the year, over the course of a number of years, they've intercepted many people from the Middle East. They've intercepted ISIS. They've intercepted all sorts of people. They've intercepted good ones and bad ones. They've intercepted wonderful people for the Middle East, and they've intercepted bad ones.
And breaking tonight, new reports that yet another caravan is now forming in El Salvador with plans to make its way to our southern border. Now, the media, the left in this country, they're either ignoring this story or making ridiculous claims that Republicans want to violently repel this group or even attack them with the military. That is an absolute lie. It's absurd. And if there is, God forbid, any confrontation at our southern border, it will not be because the United States is causing it. And by the way, let me say for the record, I am sure that the vast majority of people in this caravan, we know what they want, a better life that they're not getting in their own country. But we cannot guarantee, nobody can guarantee, if you're listening to any commentary, nobody can vouch for every single person that is marching in that caravan, whether or not they have our best intentions at heart. Now, if we did have a serious, expansive border wall today, which could be built expeditiously, guess what? This would not be an issue. It won't be an issue in the future if we build the wall. But Democrats, they think it's politically expedient to have open borders. They're the supporters of sanctuary cities, even sanctuary states like California. And by the way, an acceptance of anyone and everyone who comes here illegally. They want amnesty. They're the party of amnesty. They just don't want to tell you because John Podesta's group is saying, just don't say it. Don't tell people who you really are. All while people, the ones that do the right thing, enter the country legally, respect our Constitution, respect our sovereignty, respect our borders, respect our rule of law, guess what? They're waiting in line patiently. And sadly, there's not one Democrat in this country tonight, not one, speaking out supporting law, order, American sovereignty, borders, our Constitution. Now, this is not a crazy idea because guess what? Well, we have the videotape. And a few years ago, even then, Senator Obama, many top Democrats today, they were singing a very different tune. As a matter of fact, they all sound like Donald Trump today. But of course, that was then. They wanted your votes then. And this is, of course, now. Take a look.
We all agree on the need to better secure the border and to punish employers who choose to hire illegal immigrants. We are a generous and welcoming people here in the United States, but those who enter the country illegally and those who employ them disrespect the rule of law, and they are showing disregard for those who are following the law. We simply cannot allow people to pour into the United States undetected, undocumented, unchecked, and circumventing the line of people who are waiting patiently, diligently, and lawfully.
Wow, sounds like Donald Trump. Now, Democrats are playing politics with immigration. No surprise. The Trump agenda constantly promoting policies that do put Americans first. Remember at last night's rally, the president had this to say about what his agenda is all about. Take a look.
A globalist is a person that wants the globe to do well, frankly, not caring about our country so much. And you know what? We can't have that. You know, they have a word. It sort of became old-fashioned. It's called a nationalist. And I say, really, we're not supposed to use that word. You know what I am? I'm a nationalist, okay? I'm a nationalist.
Globalists, they want the world to do well first. President wants America first. That's what he's saying a nationalist is. And obviously, he has America first policies. The media, though, of course, typical in any election year, they're trying to say those remarks imply that he must somehow be a closet racist or somehow, those are dangerous, those remarks. Really? Think about this. It's now somehow politically incorrect to say we're going to promote the American people, American values, American law and order and prosperity first. I'm America first. Here's what I mean when I say that. I want every single American, regardless of race, background, national origin, every American to have a shot at the American dream. That means a good job, money for retirement, a nice house in a safe neighborhood, good schools for their kids, the ability to take a vacation, go out to dinner. You know what? Americans, let's get Americans and lift them out of poverty first. We still have too many Americans in poverty. We already are the most generous people on the planet and always will be. That is who we are. There's never been a country in the history of man that has accumulated more power and used it for the good of other people than the United States of America. And the president saying, yeah, America first. Well, what do we have as a result? Record low unemployment, 14 states, African Americans, Hispanic Americans, Asian Americans, women in the workplace, and of course, youth unemployment. Incomes growing for all races and all Americans. That is great for our country, our family, our fellow Americans. And the media wants you to believe that Trump's America's first policies are racist. No, African Americans, Hispanic Americans, Asian Americans, women in the workplace are benefiting rightly the most, and we're lifting every American up, and 2 years of success after 8 years of failure. This week, Obama trying to take credit once again for the Trump economy. Let's remember what life was like 8 years of Obama. Lowest labor participation rate since the 70s. 95 million Americans out of the workforce. The worst recovery since the 40s. Obama in 8 years added 13 million more Americans on food stamps, 8 million more Americans in poverty, 43 million total. Stagnant wage growth, the only president to never reach 3% annual GDP growth, and he accumulated more debt than all 43 presidents before him combined. That's his record. And despite the mainstream media, who loved Obama, he was their savior. That's a record of failure. Now, Americans of all backgrounds, all ethnicities are doing better than ever. And yet they want you and the media, the Democratic Party, to loathe President Trump. Now their favorite tactic is flat out, just call the president a liar. He does not, if he cured cancer, they would still hate him. Look at this banner from Conspiracy TV, MSNBC. Fear, falsehoods, fact checks, terrible. CNN, fake news, no better. Trump spreads lies and stokes fears ahead of elections. Why don't they run his speech and let their audiences decide? And of course, the lying smear continued on air. It was even worse. Take a look.
I'm sorry, the president flat out lied, saying Congress was working on a plan and they were coming back before the election. He gets caught in the lie, he changes his story again and says we're going to get to it eventually. The president thinks you're stupid. The president thinks people are stupid.
We're officially, it appears, in a fact-free zone.
President Trump tries to play to his base with outright falsehoods.
He's not even trying to hide his lies anymore. He's just putting them all out there. He's spreading a lot of lies about non-white people to all white crowds, Mika.
Well, a lot of what the president's saying is just not true.
The president seemed to be in a bit of a fact-free frenzy.
It's Trump respiration. He inhales oxygen, he exhales lies.
They're all afraid they're going to lose. They're all afraid their blue wave may not happen. You have the power to stop it. Mainstream media is worried because races all across the country, they're tightening. Looks like the Republicans are going to pick up Senate seats tonight. According to even NBC News, Republicans are actually outpacing Democrats in early voting in key states. But don't take that as a great indicator. Tonight, election forecaster Nate Silver, he's predicting a 6 and 7 chance, 86% that Democrats will win control of the House. Keep in mind, by the way, that he was wrong in 2016. He's predicting Nancy Pelosi will control the reign of our government as Speaker of the House, and says 82% chance the Senate will remain in the hands of Republicans and likely to pick up new seats. Now, this is a very real prospect. It will come true 2 weeks from tonight if you don't get off your ass, go to the polls, and vote for Republicans. If you vote for any Democrat for the House, you're voting for Nancy Pelosi, who's measuring the drapes. Or if you vote for the Democrat for the Senate, you're voting for Chuck Schumer. Take a look at Nancy.
If the election were held today, the Democrats would handily win the House. I could only speak in the present tense because you never know in another couple of weeks.
You can stop it. Real Clear Politics average for the generic congressional vote currently gives Democrats an advantage. If Nancy Pelosi takes control, there's no plan for improving this country. All they want is to hate and stop Trump. All they want is investigations, higher taxes, the crumbs back, open borders, and Obamacare. So instead of campaigning on any idea that's to help you, Democrats across the country are doing what they always do, their standard playbook. I've said it over and over: racist, sexist, misogynist, xenophobic, Islamophobic, homophobic, dirty air, water, kill children, and throw granny over the cliff. This election cycle, we have seen those vile ads, some of the most vile ever, including this despicable ad out of Pennsylvania from Democrat Bob Casey against Republican Lou Barletta. Take a look.
Our twin daughters were 4 when they got sick. There are no words to describe the terror we felt when doctors said they both had cancer. Our whole world changed. Thank God we had health insurance. But if Lou Barletta has his way, kids like mine could be denied the care they need. In Congress, Barletta voted to let insurance companies strip coverage for pre-existing conditions. Why would I ever vote for Lou Barletta?
I'm Bob Casey, and I approve this message.
Really exploiting kids for political gain. There are no lengths, there are no limits to how low the Democrats will go to scare you, the voter. According to the left, voting for a Republican is a risk to your life. I can prove it. Take a look.
Ted Cruz has voted to take away health care from millions of American families. He's tried repeatedly to roll back protections for pre-existing conditions, and he shut down the government for 16 days because he thought too many people had too much health care.
Scott took over $1 million from corporate polluters and savaged environmental safeguards, slashing $700 million from water protection. No wonder he doesn't want to talk about it.
Balderson's plan could mean cuts to Medicare and Social Security. And Balderson even said he has no problem raising the retirement age. Troy Balderson. That's not funny at all.
Mike Razor wants to take away women's access to preventative care and affordable cancer screenings, including mammograms. It's clear, Razor is wrong for women and wrong for Ohio.
All lies. I warned you. Same playbook every 2 and 4 years. Given this rhetoric, is it a surprise that a mob is acting out all over America? You've seen it right here, night after night now for weeks. Republicans stalked, threatened, driven out of restaurants, shouted down in airports, and tonight even new reports that the office of House Majority Leader Kevin McCarthy, they threw a boulder through his window. Now look at the pictures. Show an enormous boulder that was thrown through his window. Look at that. This is never acceptable, needs to stop immediately. And with just 2 weeks until the most important midterm of our lives, by the way, our differences need to be solved at the ballot box. No Democrats are condemning any of this. If anything, their rhetoric is encouraging it. They should be more responsible. Brand new reports on 3 Democrats, including 2 facing off in tight races. We start with Senator Cory Booker, Spartacus himself, currently not up for re-election, but he is facing a new sexual assault allegation from an anonymous source. Now, on the show, I'm consistent. Senator Booker deserves the presumption of innocence, due process, even if he didn't promote the same basic rights during the Kavanaugh hearing. We reached out to his office for comment. Spartacus is silent. Meanwhile, we have a damning new revelation about Senator Heidi Heitkamp. Look at this. First, her campaign was derailed after mistakenly outing sexual assault victims against their wishes in a campaign ad. Look at this brand new undercover James O'Keefe, ProjectVeritas.com, showing Heitkamp campaign staffers revealing that while she campaigns as a moderate, just like Bredesen in Tennessee and Claire McCaskill in Missouri, she's no different than every other far-left Democrat. All Democrats are lying. They're literally lying to you. Take a look.
It's an election year for her. Yeah, she's being careful about pissing at people off. And what's funny is that she said basically, like, after the election, if and when she gets reelected, she's going to be super liberal.
If the country moved further to the left, she would move to the left. Yeah. Like, I think if we had a Democratic Senate, she would vote for more policies that you see more Democrats. Yeah.
Oh, she's going to be a super liberal. but she's not running as a super liberal. Are you surprised? Remember, she threw out, due process and presumption of innocence and tried to block Kavanaugh's nomination. Shouldn't be any surprise. Highcam's office doesn't want to talk to her. Shocking. Meanwhile, we're continuing to track a very important tight governor's race in Florida. Look at this. Ron DeSantis, far-left radical Democrat. Andrew Gillum. At this hour, Gillum is facing very serious ongoing ethics probe over his conduct as the mayor of Tallahassee. And breaking today, new text messages show that Mr. Gillum, during a 2016 trip to New York with a longtime ally and lobbyist Adam Corey, Gillum got tickets to the hit Broadway play Hamilton that came from an undercover FBI agent posing as a businessman looking to develop property in Tallahassee. Where I come from in Long Island, that's called a bribe. Now, this raises even more questions about Gillum's judgment and past behavior. And, of course, she's innocent until proven guilty. But I'd like some answers. Even more concerning is what we've uncovered about his far-left plan for Florida. 40% corporate tax increase, abolish ICE, universal health care. Also, he has ties to far-left radical groups, including some radical anti-police groups with call for the abolishment of prison. And Ron DeSantis, former Navy JAG officer, congressman, Freedom Caucus member, pro-growth, low-tax Republican. Gillum, of course, a radical socialist. The choice is clear. Florida, Gillum will ruin your state. Your safety, your security, your economy are on the line in 14 days. 2 weeks from tonight, you decide if Nancy Pelosi Speaker, Maxine Waters, Adam Schiff, Jerry Nadler, all chair committees. Do you want those people holding the Trump agenda hostage? A vote for a Democrat is a vote for any of the people you see on your screen. Joining us now, RNC chairwoman Ronna McDaniel is with us, and the author of the New York Times bestseller, The Deep State. Fox News contributor Jason Chavis. What happens if they win?
Well, think about those people become chairman. Chairman. You got to refer to Maxine Waters as the chairman. Jerry Nadler chairing Judiciary Committee. And Adam Schiff will displace Devin Nunes and all those investigations.
Biggest liar.
Yeah, and all those investigations that you see Jim Jordan and Mark Meadows and Radcliffe and Gowdy do, those go away because they're going to dismiss those, and you're going to give Elijah Cummings and you're going to give Jerry Nadler the power of subpoena to go after this administration day after day.
Ronna McDaniels, I feel better about the Senate. I don't have a crystal ball than I do about the House. Nate Silver says 82% chance Republicans keep the Senate, 86% chance they lose the House. He was wrong in 2016. Is he wrong tonight?
I think he's wrong, Sean. I mean, listen, they've been talking about this blue wave over and over and over again. We're not seeing it. We're not seeing it in the early voting in Florida and Nevada and states that we're already seeing results come in. And certainly on the Senate side, we're seeing leads open up in North Dakota and Missouri and Indiana. So there's great opportunities to pick up seats. But you are right. We have to get out and vote. When you just talked about what would happen if we lose the House, I know it's not Halloween yet, but a shiver just went down my spine. So we need all of our voters to get out. This is not a done deal. The Democrats are energized, and the only way we keep the House is if we get out and get our voters out. So talk to your family, talk to your friends, go to vote.gop.com and get everyone out to the polls. We are fighting for our future. We know what Nancy Pelosi means. Higher taxes, abolish ICE, open borders, and miring our country down in investigation after investigation.
Back to keep Obamacare. That is a radical agenda, Jason Chavis.
No, it is. Think about it. They want to raise taxes. They want to abolish ICE. They want these open borders. They don't denounce any of this violence. They stand for the resistance movement. They want this scorched earth. That's what they're going to deliver what they're promising. And we should believe them.
But all of these people, Ronna, they're not telling their agenda. And they tell Maxine, shush. Even John Podesta, Center for American Progress, don't talk about immigration. Not one Democrat talks about the Caravan headed to our southern border because they want open borders. They will support amnesty, sanctuary cities and states. So that's what they really want, but they're not saying it. Bredesen got caught calling the people of Tennessee ignorant. We know that McCaskill got caught saying, I'm anti-gun, I'm all pro what everything Obama believed. High camp staff saying she'll be a super liberal. Thank God Project Veritas got this tape.
Yeah, I mean, they are the liars. It's funny that the mainstream media says that about our president, who's told the truth and actually delivered on the promises he made on the campaign trail. But you have Democrat after Democrat being caught in a lie. Running is one thing and then saying, yeah, just elect me. And then when I get there, I'll govern with Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi. Nancy Pelosi has said very clearly, you have a free pass. Run against me. Say you won't vote for me for Speaker. Because I know when you come home, you're going to vote for Nancy Pelosi as Speaker, which would be a disaster.
In the House is a vote for her. Vote for a Senate Democrat is a vote for Schumer. Good to see you. Congrats on the book.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Sarah Carter, live in Guatemala. Next, she spoke with some members of the migrant caravan, has some breaking news. Also, Dan Bongino, much more busy breaking news night. 2 weeks from tonight, you decide if you shock the world again.
We have to do something that we all agree with. We have to change the laws. We have to make them much different. They're very soft, and it's a different time. It's really a different time. Maybe there was a time where that could have been appropriate. But we have to have immigration laws now that are suitable for this time and that work. And the ones that we have now are old and they don't work. They don't work and they don't come close to working. And we need protection.
As well, other gang members from various different groups. There was an enormous amount of men. We were there to greet basically the second wave of people crossing from Honduras into Guatemala. I was right on the Honduran border with officials there, spent some time as well with Guatemalan officials, the head of Guatemalan intelligence, Mario Duarte. I also spent time today with the president of Guatemala, President Jimmy Morales. So this has been a huge issue for the people of Guatemala, for the government of Guatemala. I can tell you what I saw were very few women and children and an enormous amount of men. There were about 1,500 in this second wave. They believe there are about 7,000 in total that crossed through here. Remember, a lot of people began joining the very first wave when they got into Mexico. So there were a lot of coyotes, a lot of drug cartel members that were pushing their own people into the crowds to join these crowds that were moving from Honduras all the way through to Mexico to reach the U.S. border. But the majority of them were men. The women and children were in the front, and it was a very dangerous situation for them because there was a move, a push. Some of them had been trampled. They had them way up to the front of the line. But I could tell you I saw over 1,000 men, many of them highly organized, wearing the same backpacks. A few of them had told me that it was an organized movement, that they had people contact them in their villages, and that's why they were part of this movement going in. They had heard it on the news as well. So this is very important for people to understand. This was not a spontaneous movement. This was a very organized event.
And the vice president, let me get to Dan Bongino, then we get back to you, Sarah. The vice president is saying today that the Honduran president is saying organized by radicals within that country, but also financed by Venezuela.
Yeah, Sean, the evidence is everywhere. We've seen a Honduran left-wing congressman, I believe the name is Fuentes, who has already come out and made some statements that the left wing in South America is behind this. Again, this is only ignored by the media, but the problem here is the media and their liberal allies, Sean, are doing nothing to buttress the president and back up the president in what should be, Sean, what should be a bipartisan issue. You have close to 10,000 people potentially getting ready in the coming weeks to potentially hit our southern border, not through a port of entry, but to enter illegally. We have no idea who they are, and the Democrats are okay on this. Every responsible Republican should get every Democrat on the record as to where they stand on this.
Listen, I'm just going to assume, Sarah, that the vast majority of people are living in poverty. Their government's not working for them. We see waste, fraud, abuse, even the money that we give to a lot of these nations. I'm sure most, 99%, let's say, are good people that want a better life. I understand people's desire to be here, but we have laws. We're a constitutional republic. We have sovereignty. We have borders, and we have a process for people to come in. The idea, by the way, and if we had the wall, Sarah, this couldn't happen. But the idea that America would somehow, by defending its borders, if there's any confrontation, it will be caused by other people that don't respect our laws. I don't want any innocent people hurt here, but nobody can vouch for anybody in that group. And if there's 1% that want to bring harm to our country, we owe it to the people here to protect them and not let that happen.
Absolutely, Sean. A couple of points here that are very important right now. The government of Guatemala, President Morales told me today in an interview that he understands how President Trump feels. He understands how the American people feel. He wants a full cooperation with the United States. He will fully cooperate. They want to bring the criminals to justice that organized this event, because innocent people are harmed, and these are the people that are being pushed into these caravans and being told lies and being brought up to the United States. But just as you said, there are elements of danger within these caravans. Members of, these migrants, members of MS-13, members of other gangs. They also found within the first wave of the caravans, and even within the second wave, Cubans, people from Congo, people from all over the world that were put into these caravans and from specific places. Nearly about 100 or so they have been rounding up. They have detained them. I have talked with intelligence officials here on the ground. This information is legitimate. Now, as for the ISIS members that I know everybody's talked about over the last few weeks, over the last week, that was information that was obtained from the intelligence services out here in coordination with U.S. intelligence, I've been told, over the last 3 years. So they have found members connected to ISIS and other various terrorist groups here in Central America.
Yeah. And Dan, if they get to the border and charge our border, that's an invasion. That's not a caravan. That would be an invasion.
There's no other way to describe it, Sean. And also, what happens when all the attention's being paid to the caravan? What happens at other points of entry as well, Sean? There's a lot of secondary effects from this as well.
Saying one thing years ago that now they sounded like Trump. Oh, now not one is speaking out. Not one, because they don't care to ever take a stand. They want to hide and see which way the wind blows. That's not leadership. Sarah, thank you for reporting. We'll have a new report from her tomorrow. Dan Bongino, thank you. When we come back, Nancy Pelosi thinks this election is in the bag for the Democrats, and she's going to be Speaker. Doug Schoen, John McLaughlin, they'll break down the polls and what you can expect 2 weeks from tonight. That's next. All right, 2 weeks from tonight, one of the most important midterms of your lifetime. Battleground races remain neck and neck. Republicans are surging in places like North Dakota. By the way, Indiana now surging. People in Indiana, you vote for the Libertarian, you're throwing away your vote and helping Joe Donnelly. No offense to Libertarians. Don't split the vote. And, of course, President Trump's approval numbers are the highest ever. Deputy DNC Chair Keith Ellison sinking fast as Dianne Feinstein, Kamala Harris, and Spartacus stay quiet. The people of Minnesota see what's happening there. New poll showing Ellison down to Republican opponent Doug Wardlow by 7 points, as he should be. Now, remember, in addition to his radical left beliefs, Ellison facing serious accusations of domestic and emotional and physical violence from his ex-girlfriend, Karen Monahan. No calls for FBI investigations there. Shocking. Joining us now with reaction, Fox News contributor, former Clinton pollster Doug Schoen, Republican pollster John McLaughlin. Here's my take.
Yep.
Florida, I would say Gillum and Nelson are slightly ahead for the Democrats. I'd say Marsha Blackburn, after that tape by Project Veritas, she will take Tennessee, I hope. I think Claire McCaskill is in deep trouble in Missouri tonight. She got revealed. Heidi Heitkamp is in trouble. This Sinema woman is out of her mind. In Arizona, I don't think she wins against Martha McSally. I think Dean Heller holds on. If people in Indiana don't vote Libertarian, you're splitting the ticket. You get rid of the Libertarian, you win Indiana. And I think Dean Heller is holding on a slight margin. Tight race will be there. The House, it's going to be 2, 3, 4 seats either way.
Yeah. The way I see it, Sean, the House, I think, is now 25, 26, 27 Democrat.
So that would be +4 Democrat.
Right.
Slim margin.
And I wish I could sit here and tell you that you were wrong about the Senate. I'd say we got a chance as Democrats to pick up Nevada and Arizona. But other than that, I think there's a decisive movement to the Republicans.
It's Kristen Sinema, who caught on tape calling the meth lab of democracy, the people of her state crazy. The fact that
she's a moderate Democrat.
She invited an Arizona state, a radical attorney for the blind sheikh. Oh, and she said it's okay to join the Taliban. Right. Really? You're going to bet on that one?
Well, right now the polls have her even or slightly ahead.
Actually, McSally had the latest poll was up 7.
Yes.
Yeah.
One poll.
She's not a moderate. And the good news side is the House is where the battle is right now. And you've done a great job raising the specter that Nancy Pelosi could be the next speaker, the most powerful Democrat in the country. She thinks
third in line to be president.
Right.
Good God help us.
So they won't just impeach the president, they'll impeach the vice president too. So that one's out of the bag. But in the meantime, we're going to have a poll tomorrow that will put online 1,000 likely voters nationwide, 44% Republican, 46% Democrat. That's close enough to hold the House. And you've got basically Pelosi, because she has this 55% unfavorable rating across the country.
45 Republican House retirements.
Right. Well, right, but still, that's why the president, his job approval number's coming up. Like, we'll have a 48% job approval for him tomorrow that matches what Rasmussen has. But as his job approval comes up, he raises the floor for the Republicans.
Am I wrong in saying that if people don't vote in the House races, that's a half a vote for Pelosi? Right. If they vote for a Democrat, they're voting for Pelosi. You vote for a Democratic senator, you're voting for Schumer.
Fortunately, Sean, the Democrats are mobilized. Now, Republican enthusiasm has come up substantially since the Kavanaugh hearings, but we're seeing the same level of visibility and activism in Democratic districts.
I agree. And look, a lot of it's anti-Trump hate that's been ginned up for 2 solid years, but nobody can doubt lowest unemployment numbers for African Americans, Hispanic Americans, Asian Americans.
Fortunately, the Republicans don't do as good a job as you do in delivering that message.
I'll go back to the 63.
What do you say to Republicans tonight? What should they be saying?
There's 63 million Trump voters out there. And if they get complacent, because only 90 million vote in a midterm election, if they get complacent and say the president's taking care of it and stay home, we'll lose. If they get fired up as the Democrats do and come out and win, vote, we'll be able to win. But
listen, so it could be, if Republicans win Senate seats and hold the House, that would be massive. Right. But
Sean,
we could have a split decision.
That would be Armageddon for the Democrats. We have to, and I predict will, but narrowly win the House. I think
predicting by 4 seats.
Yeah, I am saying it's going to be tight. That's what all the public rating services are saying.
It's too close to call in the House right now.
Too close to call in the House.
And we have to look at Pelosi and get the Republicans fired up, because she means open borders, more taxes, less jobs, and government-run health care.
We need no impeachment, centrism, a moderate
Democratic Party. They're going to impeach. You know it's going to be endless. That's all it's going to be. Nothing to help the American people.
We need a compromise on immigration, education, health care.
You keep dreaming. Not with this crowd of radicals. That's not going to happen.
I'm not a radical, Sean.
You're not. Don't listen to Doug if you're a Democrat, because he might actually help you win. All right, good to see you both. Listen, if you don't get out and vote, you will get the government you deserve. There's only so much I can tell you. Nancy Pelosi is not great. It's not going to be good. We'll handle it if it happens, but we have a better option, you voting. Up next, huge deep state news continues to be exposed. Big report, John Solomon, that he just broke. He will join us with George and Simona Papadopoulos straight ahead. Right, another bombshell report about the deep state. John Solomon, listen to this explosive story out from the Hill tonight. A convenient omission. Trump campaign advisor denied collusion to FBI source early on. Now, it's about the FBI ignoring exculpatory evidence in their FISA warrant applications. John Solomon joins us along with former Trump campaign aide George Papadopoulos, his wife Simona, who fought so hard for his defense. John, I'll let you break it down.
Sure, yeah, this is really simple. Remember, the FBI opened up the entire Trump collusion investigation on the suspicion that George had some collusion going on behind the scenes with the Russians, specifically related to Hillary Clinton's emails and the hacking. Just a few weeks after they opened that investigation, George has a conversation with an FBI informant, a professor named Halper in London, and he tells Halper, and he's going to tell it way better than I am, but he tells him, we weren't colluding. I wasn't interested. In fact, colluding with the Russians would be treason. We didn't do it. The FBI has that in its possession. Its obligation is either to shut down the investigation or find other evidence. What do? They don't tell the court about this. They leave this out of the FISA application, and they pivot to the Steele dossier and other things which are far less credible in their own minds than the original allegation about George. So this is really, it's evidence of innocence withheld from the court, withheld from the American
sounds
public
like
all this
Andrew
time.
Weissman's history. And don't forget, fraud was committed on the FISA court 4 times because they purposely withheld where the information came from, bought and paid for by Hillary, and they withheld from the court. The bulk of evidence was the unverified, uncorroborated dossier. Yeah. Simona, you went to bat for your husband when he couldn't speak for himself. You know, I hate to say, now remember, Lisa Page said there's no evidence. 9 months. That's when they started their leak strategy, their insurance policy. And remember, Strzok said there's no there. Even they said it. And yet they used a lie about him.
That's what I try to stress. So since the day number 1, I am a direct witness of what happened to George. I come from Europe, and I know the background.
You're from Italy. Right.
From Italy,
right.
Exactly, not Russian.
People said, I know, why do people write that all the time?
I don't know, I can try to cook spaghetti in the next show. Anyway, so I insisted there were so many exculpatory evidences, and that's why you hosted me kindly in the first show, and I said I really wish that the truth could come out, because I know it's the sentences has been fair, but I think he doesn't deserve
But here's the thing,
one day.
George, if this is, look, I would say don't open your case up, because 2 weeks, anybody can suck up 2 weeks of their life, and I wouldn't want you to open yourself up to something further. So you're in a tough spot. But what John's reporting is true. Anything you can add?
All I can add about this is that John is absolutely right. I actually have 0 Russia contacts or connections whatsoever. From after a year of researching my situation and John's excellent reporting, it seems that I was completely set up by Western intelligence masquerading as Russians. Now, if that's true, and certain people in our intelligence community knew it the whole time, that these people that I encountered were actually Western intelligence and not Russians, what on earth am I getting in trouble for?
And you said from the beginning you didn't have it. That's what John's saying.
Absolutely. I told this person, Stefan Halper, just stay away from me. And
he said it.
And that's apparently exactly what happened, yeah.
John, where do we go with this? What does he do here? I mean...
Sean, I got to tell you this tonight. The spin coming out of the Justice Department is absolutely amazing. I would call it un-American. People are telling me tonight they don't think the Justice Department had an obligation to tell the courts about exculpatory information. Think about that statement for a second.
Lie.
Yeah, and in the FISA court, where the accused, someone like George, doesn't have a representative, a lawyer to defend them, it's all in secret. Can you imagine that sentiment being shared with Congress or to the judges on the FISA court? I'd like to see how long that lasts.
What do you do after this?
We're just looking to move on with our lives right now and start a family.
You're gonna go after people that have mistreated you.
Anybody who mistreated me, I'm going after.
And you're gonna see Gowdy and Goodlatte this week.
In a couple of days. We want the truth out there.
Okay. She really fought for you. Congratulations.
That's why I love her to death.
Good for you.
Love him. Thanks so much.
Thank you.